I'm going to go on an old guy rant here. Okay. And I know I'm not known for my rants.
I believe I just loved like 10 of them on Facebook this morning.
But here it is. Leaf blowers can suck my dick. I do not like them. Welcome to 2 Shots and a Royalty Check, brought to you by Venmo, your money, your move, and Liquid Death, murder your thirst. Let's get back into it.
I mean, you remember those days on the road? You'd go out and you'd be like raging until 3, 4, 5. Sometimes the next morning you'd sleep for 3 hours on the bus or the van and get up and rage and do it again that night. And I still, the 25-year-old metabolism will allow for that. I had one guy on the road. He's driving in the van, and all of a sudden starts shaking his driving hand. It's like, "You okay, man?" He goes, "Yeah, I can't feel my hands. I need some gummy bears and maybe a cheeseburger or something, and I'll be fine." And that's really what happened. He got gummy bears, cheeseburger, and his hands were fine.
Yeah.
Shit,
you don't
can't
need
do
to
that.
be driving a van to get that. Like, I have that some days where I'm like, ew.
Yeah. Well, and being in the middle of the Midwest, the healthiest of choices were not always readily available. If you are vegan in the Midwest and on tour, I'm sorry. I'm sure Jared Leto travels with his own chef or something like that.
Yeah, you only eat fries basically.
But it depends on like if the fry's been anywhere near anything with any type of animal product.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I can't imagine. There was one tour I did very early on. I was in my 20s. We started in LA. We started at the Whiskey A Go-Go was the first show. It was like, okay,
that was not bad.
That was fun. And it was right when Pringles had come out with the smoky barbecue chip.
Oh.
And I discovered this glorious item at a local, California gas station. And you could probably have tracked the band's, travels across the United States by the number of Pringles barbecue chip can purchases by a certain 20-something-year-old Scottish guitar player. I ate those things religiously for an entire tour.
We became obsessed with anything that was new. Denver always has like a launch pad for newer products, especially chips. So like when they started putting out pickles and sea salt or some of the weird shit, like Denver always gets a bunch of those. But around here, like when we were doing a bunch of touring, we would always find the weirdest food, and we had a thing called the dollar bet. Where it was like, bet? Yeah, so Jeff, our drummer, would be like, "I bet you $1 you won't eat that." And so like, you remember those like pickles in a bag?
Oh no.
At like all the like truck stops and shit, and you're like, no idea how long those have been in there. Or if we were in the middle of like, Oklahoma or something, and it was like, "I will bet you $1 that you won't eat that sushi."
Oh, gas station sushi?
Gas station sushi. Pretty much anything that would make you throw up.
Yeah.
It was $1 bet, and it just was, it was just stupid is what it was. But that's okay. We used to always get all the weirdest chips and all that. We were actually talking to this. I was at a memorial this weekend. And
oh, man, I'm sorry.
I know. God, it's fucking never ending, I swear to God. But like, it was a whole bunch of us that have been around for years and years and years and cough years. And and some of my old band they're all still great friends. We were there, and we were all Dave Fox was there. There's a bunch of people. It was kind of old school Edgewater back in the day kind of people. And pretty much everyone's working. Burkhaw was there. I mean, there was a bunch of people.
Cool.
Aaron Garcia and stuff, but just really good friends. Long time friends. And anyway, we were sitting on the lounge, and a story came up about touring, and Ryan and I were talking about the bomb burrito. Do you remember those at 7-Eleven?
Oh yeah, I remember those well.
It's like $2.50 or whatever, and it was like this massive burrito. I don't even know if they're legal anymore.
3 a.m.
Do they sell them anymore?
I apologize. I can definitely hear the puppy losing his damn mind upstairs.
Oh no,
right now.
Poor thing.
He'll be all right.
But
he's got a bone to snack on.
One of the guy's wives was very health conscious, and we used to make fun of her about it.
Yeah.
But she was fit, and she like took a look at the back of the bomb burrito and was like, "You guys, these are like 3,000 calories."
Yeah.
And like 40% fat, and what I was like, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. By the way, we're burning 50,000 calories every night, so I don't want to hear it. But whatever.
Yeah. Exactly.
We came up with this idea that we wouldn't finish them.
Yeah.
And so we took the end of the bomb burrito, and we would do a bomb burrito race.
Oh my gosh.
On the wall in the hotels.
Yeah.
And so you take the last part of the burrito, and 1, 2, 3, boom, you throw it as top of the wall as you can, and it'd stick to the wall, and then it would slide down the wall from the cheese and the beans. You're like, come on, go bomb burrito. And yeah, so Ryan and I would always have bomb burrito wars and races.
Funny.
We would clean the walls.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine, she just moved out of her apartment, her and her boyfriend. Went to the grocery store and got a bunch of, those, they used to be a nickel, the little sticky hands.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They got like, I don't know, they got like maybe 10 of them, spent like, because I think they're 50 cents now. And they stuck them on the ceiling of their apartment, and they all took a bet on which one would come down last, which one they thought would stay last. Or they had a bunch of friends that did it. And I think they just moved out, and there were 3 of them still up there. Speaking of gas station food, there was a Hard Times News headline this week. Brilliant parody, kind of akin to The Onion, but definitely music directed. And it said, "Man buying gas station hard-boiled egg suspected of any and all unsolved crimes."
Yep.
I remember one of the singers I used to tour with. There was we'd be in the mountains of South Dakota, the Black Hills of South Dakota, and there's a gas station leading out of town. We'd pull the van and the trailer in, and you could see we'd all be waiting in the van for this guy, and you could see him inside, and on the counter they have that jar of pickled eggs.
Yep.
And
or eyeballs, but pick one.
And one time he decided he was going to get one. He was never allowed in that gas station ever again because that jar smelled so horribly. So bad.
And it's not as if you don't fart all the time anyway in the van. It's like, why would you add that to it? God.
Yeah, we went back to that town, and they I think they had a photo of his face up on the jar. By the time we got back, said, "Do not let this man eat pickled eggs.
Do not sell this man a pickled egg."
But it's like, why the fuck have it up on the counter if you're not some guy who's doing the I bet you $1 shit says, "Yeah, I bet you can't squeeze 10 of these up your ass or something."
I bet the guy that ran the gas station was like, he had a bet with somebody else that ran the gas station, was like, "All right, if someone buys one of these today, you owe me $5.
You owe me $5 and a pack of smokes."
Because there's no input cost.
Literally.
That's back when eggs were cheap.
Now you need to mortgage your house to get 12 of them.
That's right. Oh, man. I don't think you can hear it now, hopefully, but I'm going to go on an old guy rant here, okay? And I know I'm not known for my rants.
I believe I just loved like 10 of them on Facebook this morning.
But here it is. Leaf blowers can suck my dick. I do not like them. I don't think they're needed. We lived, I don't know, thousands of years. Well, yes, definitely thousands of years, millennia, if you will, and I will, without leaf blowers.
Yeah.
Leaves, they can just disintegrate and go back into the earth from which they came.
Yeah.
We don't need them. And these guys that are doing leaf blowers, there's guys across the street that are just doing leaf blowers all day long.
Oh, boy.
And it also was in B flat. One guy was in B flat, and another guy was in B.
Oh, no.
He didn't mean it, but like one's going... Oh, my God. It was killing me.
Wow.
It was absolutely... And, of course, my ear, I'm wanting it to go to A.
Yeah.
I'm wanting it to drop to A. Just please get into.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it killed me. I mean, if I had horn players around, it would have been a lot easier.
I'm fine with B flat.
Yes, fine.
But
with
having
B-flat.
a B flat and a B natural together. Oh yeah, and you're right about the whole it's nature's compost.
We don't need it.
We don't need it.
I mean, I get it. It looks like shit, but you know what? Get a broom.
Yeah.
Get a broom. They're quieter. And so it was just cacophony. Like it was leaf blowers, car alarms. We got a guy doing roofing. There's some dude like building out his Sprinter van for his little tiny house adventure in the world.
Good for him.
On a city street using saws and stuff.
That's a little much.
And what's hilarious is that, like, you know, I kind of live on like a sort of a sleepy street for Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, I love living in a city. I like sirens. I like people. I like late at night hearing drunks walk by. I like the dogs. I like people around.
Like the white noise, the comfort sounds of home.
Yeah. Like I'm not going out there, but I do like that it's happening.
Yeah.
And so, but there I am standing on my balcony, just like livid at this guy, like, what the fuck are you making all this noise on my quiet street for in the middle of a quiet, loud city?
Yeah, quiet, loud.
Yeah, but I was like, this is not where we build out our van, refurbishment. Yeah. I don't care. And of course, he doesn't have a garage or anything. I'm sure he lives in an apartment or something. But
he might live in that van already, and he's just
wants
like,
to.
I got a small loan to do a refurbishment of the kitchen in my tiny home.
Dude, and it's a Sprinter van, and there's like a bunch of them down here.
Yeah.
And look, I'm all for that. I've lived in a car. Jewel lived in a car. We've all done it. But like this guy, he and his girlfriend, he's like, oh, I'm so excited because we're going to be able to go up skiing and we won't have to get a hotel. And I'm like, you're high. Like, did you grow up here? And he's like, no, I'm from wherever. He's not from here. He's like South Carolina or something.
Yeah.
And dude, he's got like 14-inch tires.
Yeah.
For one,
he's got like 2-inch tires.
Yeah,
he's got like skateboard wheels on this.
They look like starter tires. They look like, or like that whatever that donut tire that you get in some cars for those flat.
Maybe he's lowered it and it's like a hoopty and it actually has hydraulics and he can.
Yeah, but they were talking about driving it from here to Alaska. And I'm like, oh God, you will be lucky to make it past Winter Park. Like,
there's so many stories because I've done so many tours where we've come back from like the West Coast and we've come back home through the mountains. I've done it in a Windstar van that kind of slid sideways down the pass. The trailer was at an opposite angle. So the right angle of the van and the trailer were creating actually created kind of a nice braking effect, and we could skid.
It counterbalances,
it's like kind of sideways down the hill. But the thing when you were talking about with the notes of the leaf blowers running together, we have a friend of ours who plays in a relatively good sized national act, and he has perfect pitch, and he had to. I believe he tuned his house.
Wow.
Because the fridge was buzzing at one, or he had to get some type of things
to
make sure that things were buzzing at actually complementary frequencies, because he would just like lie awake at night and stare at the ceiling, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we're already sensitive enough to vibrations, but you know,
that is brutal. Having perfect pitch is a curse.
Well, imagine like
I don't. By the way, I said that like I do. I don't.
Yeah, I have relative pitch. Like when you said a B flat to a B, I could hear them in my head. Yeah. Because I'm a trombone player and I'm a guitar player, so I've got a tritone apart, and I can find almost any note from those two. But I mean, there's companies out there that will actually come into your house or come into your business and say, okay, your fridge is buzzing at an A flat, and your copier prints at X, you know, at a G natural. So you are angering the volcano.
Is it 440?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, even if it's not, like just getting somebody to, hey, do you want to go ahead and slow the motor on that
Totally.
that thing a little bit so that it just sits a little bit better. And
yeah,
but
then you'll have harmonies everywhere.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. That could be. I mean, it would be better no matter what. It would be better.
Yeah, I would think it would be better, but I mean, then can you imagine like having Stravinsky like rhythms from everything going on all over the place? It's like you got Carl over there beating his pen on the desk. You got these three things resonating in harmony. Like it's like a Sondheim musical in there.
Totally. I had a friend in college. He had perfect pitch, and it was so funny because everyone would test him on it all the time. It's kind of like Charlie Puth. People test him on it constantly. They're like, well, what's that? What's this note? And he's like, oh, well, that's actually three tones together. And like he can really separate them out. And I remember this guy was just always so pissed off about it because it was like, okay, like I don't need to prove it to you. I'm just telling you I do.
Yeah.
So, like when you warm up in choirs and stuff, a lot of times everyone sings an A. And we go from there, and everybody tries to get to that. And so he would be the note. So he would pick the note that we would be doing. And then he would try to teach everyone relative pitch. And I was in a musical with him, and so he was just trying to teach me, like cornerstone notes and like what they feel like. And he was really good about like teaching theory, but he hated it.
Oh,
so like he would teach fourths. Using the classic "Here Comes the Bride," he would always do that fourth, and he would teach them in that way in like mnemonics,
Oh wow!
And he would get so pissed off when someone couldn't get it. Like he's like you've sung "Happy Birthday," you've heard "Here Comes the Bride," these intervals, and they're like, I'm not getting it, and he's like, "Here comes the bride." He's like, it's not hard, you guys. And I'm like, it's a curse. I swear to God, it's a curse.
Yeah. I don't understand the need for, I feel for Charlie Puth in this point. It's like the guy is incredibly talented, very skilled musician, very skilled artist. I really like his songwriting, but to have to prove to everybody you have this thing, that's got to be really. I mean, I don't think that I should have to prove to anybody that I'm good at something. It's like if I say something and you have an issue with me saying that, you have an issue with like, well, I don't believe you. I don't believe you've played a Red Rocks that many times.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, good for you.
Right.
We're no longer talking. I don't give a shit who you are.
Yeah.
I don't understand like that need for humans to belittle each other to build something up.
I don't even know if it's like a questioning thing, but it definitely is like a show pony thing. Like, oh, here's your little trick. It like, I guess it's the same if you're a magician or whatever. It was like, hey, show everyone what you can do right now. Hey, do it. I told everyone you can do it. Like, it's like a talk show thing, now I understand, Charlie, you have perfect pitch. So does that mean if I just hit this over here, you'll be able to tell me? And it's, I don't know. I guess other people like it, but like I think it's just such bullshit.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things where, like, it's like if I hit this thing over here, you can tell me what pitch it is. I'm like, I bet if I hit you, I could tell you what pitch you'd make. What? Yeah. But again, also the other part of it is Charlie
for
Puth
a bruise, bitch.
Charlie Puth is a younger musician.
Yeah.
He's
Berkeley alum.
He's and so I think that sometimes especially with older people, there's a degree of jealousy or got to bring the pup down to make sure he knows where the lions live or whatever kind of bullshit you want to
Oh, that happened this week with Ed Sheeran about, and we won't get into all that crap because that's enough. But there was a guy, an old guy, that was like, "Did you hear that Ed Sheeran doesn't even know how to read music?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's probably true. Most of us don't know how to like truly read music." I was like, "He's like, well, do you know how to read music?" I was like, "I'm gonna tell you no every time." because I know people who can really read music.
Yeah.
The second you meet a composer or like a real, quote unquote real musician that, can have, an opera put in front of them and play it note for note, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's someone who can sight read,
Yeah.
Can I read
sight reading
music?
is a different skill. I mean, I know people that can read music that are terrible sight readers. I am one of them.
Right. Yeah. But that's what I consider someone who can read music, is someone who can, sight unseen, a song they haven't heard.
Yeah.
Can you put it in front of them and they can get all the nuance, they can nail all the timing, the changes, tempo changes. They know where the DSL coda is.
Yeah. All the slur markings and all the accents and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they'll play all that. Katie does that.
Yeah.
It's like she'll throw a piece of music, an etude or something like that she's working on for her group Etude of the Week. Shout out. Big old group of flute players around the world that she works with.
Etude with an attitude.
Etude with an attitude. Oh my God, we just totally revolutionized her marketing campaign. And they'll all put. It's amazing. I'll watch her put something up there, and she'll play the thing she's working on right now that I've heard a couple hundred times that she's practicing. Even from the first time she put it up on the stand in front of her, I don't know if she's played it before, because one of the things they do is they kind of pick a new etude book every week or every month for everybody to work through. The thing that she's playing right now, I am like, oh my God, that's fucking hard. And she throws it up on the stand and just plays it through. And she goes, oh yeah, I gotta watch out for that. I gotta watch for that. And then the second time she plays it, it's like it's a leap in how much better it is.
Yeah.
And then there's
amazing.
me. It's me. There's counting friends with the SpongeBob musical. There was it took 2 days for that switch to turn back on from what I used to do in college.
Yeah.
For me to read that stuff.
Yeah.
Can you hear the screaming dog?
I can't.
I'm sad. Dad, I'm sad.
I don't know. We'll see when we get to an edit. I don't have you very loud.
Throw the gate on it, and it's like
limit. Yeah, that is crazy, because I Paul McCartney can't read music, but whenever you hear someone say that, I
just think they're uneducated on what the process is.
Yeah, because Paul McCartney can read music.
Yeah.
He's just not going to tell you he's a music reader. You know what I mean? He knows what 3 chords are, or what 3 notes are in a C chord, a C major. He does know that. And anyone that's fucked around on a piano, I mean, there's only so many notes, so many names. You do eventually, and I would imagine after many years, you do know a little bit. And I used to read, for vocals, and I would never nail it on the first shot.
Yeah.
I would get it eventually, but I screwed up that, I screwed up that 16th note run, or I screwed up the, whatever the pause, I'll screw up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to hear the melody constantly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hear whatever I'm singing, or the counter melody or whatever. But yeah. So I just think that's hilarious when people get into that. Oh, he doesn't even read music. And I was like, that's not a requirement, man.
It's not a requirement to be creative.
He writes the music you read.
I've never read a book on Monet. No. But I do paint paintings every now and then.
That's right. Yeah.
I know how a paintbrush works.
Yeah. Or that's like saying Monet doesn't know Cubism.
I would have.
Boy, that's a deep cut, huh? Let's get into some art history.
Wait a second. Now I want to know if the AIs out there will paint me a Cubist Monet painting.
A Cubist Monet in graffiti style.
Ooh, photorealistic.
Photorealism. Plus minus 3.5 on the whatever, and fucking AI, whatever.
Yeah. It's not AI. We've already discussed that.
I know. I've lost that war.
It's funny. I just I've been using it lately, kind of as a catalyst. Like if I'm struggling writing some copy or something like that, I'll be like, "Hey, Chat GPT, write something about this," and I'll get something so awful I'll have to fix it.
I've talked to a bunch of I've written professionally for a long time. I've written in magazines. I've ghostwritten books. I've written for other people. I've written blogs. Half of this shit is trained on the people who wrote on the internet for this long anyway. And I was one of those people. Yeah. But, and sometimes it's music articles, sometimes it's essays, sometimes it's songs, sometimes it's stories, sometimes it's scripts. So I've done a lot of different kinds of forms of writing. And any writer will tell you, and I'm sure pretty every songwriter will too, like the worst fucking part of the process of writing is the editing. And I know I mentioned this in a previous thing, is that the edit is where the magic is. But like, this is why I don't even use ChatGPT for that like creation period, because I'm like, it's just like I have to like grade an 11th grader's paper, you know, like it's like I have to grade some fucking junior who thinks they know how to write.
Yeah.
Like that's my issue with it, is that I'm not here to edit other people's writing. I got to edit my own. And, you know, as a writer, you try to get into your own voice and write like you speak. And there's all these different, facets of it. Yeah. I'm hearing from people like in real writing rooms, like comedy writers and people that are writing on shows, is that they'll get punch ups that are chat GPTs. Yeah. And producers will go, okay, so I kind of, spit out this script because I had it in my mind. You go ahead and write it now. And it's like, they're like, can I please just start from scratch? Yeah. So for me, but I mean, I get it. It does help some people with some copywriting who've never done that. Yeah. What's hilarious though, is like the thing that ChatGPT and all of these things are worst at is brevity.
Oh yeah.
Which is the best writing, whether it's copywriting, whether it's headline writing, whether it's sentence writing, paragraph writing, like the sure hallmark of a piss poor writer is too long.
It's the guy that needed to fill some space on his 10th grade English paper and therefores and why-fors and who-to-wits.
Yes, I wrote you 8,000 words. Okay, well, it's wrong. Whatever it is, it's wrong. It's probably wrong.
I wrote you 8,000 words.
And I mean, that's like, I have to turn in shit to editors that's like, I'm lucky because I get like a range, but for a while, it was like 800 words. Yeah. I would turn in 800 words. Yeah. That's it. You go back in, you take out ands, you do conjunctions, you do a bunch of little tricks. You start changing, they have to they've, and like, you just do a bunch of things like that. And you're finally, there you are at 800. Yeah. But every editor loves that. Yeah. But that was like, there's some magazine print stuff, like you literally do need to turn in 800. And now it's kind of more, you get 800 to 1100. And, but like any writer, I mean, I imagine I'm no different than anyone else. You give me 800 to 1100 words, I'm going to give you 1,000. I'm going to give you 1,000. It's going to get closer. Yeah. But but I'm glad it's helping some people get the first part of copy out.
It's helping with for me, it's usually like I'm looking for alternative perspectives on how to articulate an idea.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm always when I'm typing it, I'm actually using functions such as tell me how Oprah Winfrey would say this. Tell me how John Steinbeck would say this. Like rather than like how would I say it, and then it's like okay, I like that metaphor, I like that simile, I like this idea, and then I put it in my own voice, which is usually a lot of much like an episode of Family Guy, obscure references that run a little too long.
Yeah, but live or die with that. That's you.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where it comes back to. So when I'm typing up my weekly emails, which you can subscribe to at StuMillerMusic.com. I don't use ChatGPT at all. It's always based in an idea I have, fronted by a story I have from my career as to why I got there. Right. So I never use it for that kind of stuff. But sometimes with the amount of content we create on social media, it's helpful to, I don't know quite how to articulate this idea without pissing myself and other people off. So that's how I'll utilize it then. Yeah.
Heyo.
Yeah, but I don't want clicks on that. I want to,
That's my problem. I know, like from years of doing digital marketing, I do know what sells and what moves the needle. I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to just take a side of an argument that I know will generate, controversy. I know how to do it, and I've done it for other people, but like, I don't want to live there. I just don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't care enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, your screen just popped on.
Oh, yeah, because I bumped my mouse. I've been, the computer is on because I'm in the middle of mixing a young gentleman's. I've got some young fellas I've been working with for about the last 4 months, and they just did 4 more songs, like kind of pop punk kind of stuff. Really fun. A lot of yelling, a lot of screaming. They want a lot of harmonic distortion on their vocals because they're uncomfortable with how their voices are, that kind of stuff. So, yeah,
that's lovely.
Yeah, it's been really fun to do that. And like one of the challenges is, with that type of band is they don't have a huge budget, so you kind of got to get creative with, to balance out the amount of time you're going to spend on it versus the amount of money they can afford to pay you for your time. So we had to get real creative with the set, with the recording. Going back to our conversation about bands can spend time in the studio and give you a great producer can kind of give you a snapshot of who that band is at that moment in time. Trying to strike a balance between that and the fact that we've got 3 fucking days in here. Oof.
And you only got so much money. So how do you find that young bands are these days with like rehearsing? Like, did they come in pretty well prepared or
better prepared than they were the first time we recorded?
Yeah.
There was one point in the whole thing where we had to do that thing where it's like, I have to get you to play through the entire song first.
Right.
And then we can punch things. But are you playing to a click? Okay, so you want to play to a click. Okay, you're kind of playing to the click. You're kind of not playing to the click because they're not used to it. It's just, that
was the other thing. I was like, did you do a live recording of the full band?
I did the first time we recorded. This time they were like, well, we kind of want to do it in pieces. I'm like, I understand, but you don't have enough money to be here for 2 weeks to do that. So we're going to do this in 3 days, and we're going to do as much as we can. And the first day, I went in there a day earlier, and I got all the instruments in there, and I got everything set up. I ran the drums live. I had the bass direct, the 2 guitars direct, and simulators on the Apollos to get, and then I had, I kept the direct recordings of the guitars just in case I needed an alternate, take of stuff, and got versions of the song, and then we did the drums piece by piece as much as we could, and the goal was to get drums done by 2 p.m. guitars done by 6 p.m. and bells and whistles and all that stuff done by 10 o'clock on Saturday. It was a 14-hour day for me, a 12-hour day for them.
Right.
And then we did vocals on Sunday, and I went between lead singer, backup singer, lead singer, backup singer, lead singer to give everybody breaks when they needed it. And then took an hour and made the other 2 guys just yell things a couple times to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
but as far as preparation,
are you a foundational producer where you like to do drums, bass, or drums like lead guitar, or do you build that way?
Well, I like to build from the bottom up.
Yeah.
On a recording, but I also like to have a
guide vocal
run through of the entire song first, so I can hear kind of like, and I like to have him do it like 7 or 8 times. Yeah. I don't need the singer to do it 7 or 8 times. I'll record it, but there's an 8 count in the beginning. Count yourself off, then go. That's how it works. And then have the singer give me a guide vocal, and the band goes through, and I'll be listening to every time to see if they're consistently doing something or it's like if transitions are inconsistent or if there's a flow issue somewhere or this, that, and the other thing, and then we can spend 30 minutes cleaning something up. But again, in this type of session, we don't have time for that. I just have to get the best version of what they can do in that moment. So it kind of does get a snapshot of where they are. But there was one moment where the first song we recorded, the drummer kind of messed up a fill And he said, "Can you fix that?" And I said, "I can. It's going to sound kind of fake because I'm going to be, flying, drums all over the place that don't go there. And, when you hit a drum, it resonates, and it resonates throughout all the other drums.
Yeah.
And it goes into all the other microphones. So if I take a snare snapshot and I just plug it in somewhere, that snapshot's not going to have all that other information on it.
Yeah.
So I said, it's going to sound kind of fake. I said, but if next time, if you want to hear a better fill there, practice it and play it better." And he said, that was about the only thing I think I made a mistake on, but if we could fix that. I was like, sure. So I fixed it. And it didn't sound super fake, but I mean, there's, just like, it's going to be quicker for me to fix it in post at that point rather than trying to. And the other part is that at this point in their careers, they want exactly what they want.
Right.
They don't want my producerly input. They don't even want me to do the thing like, hey, your intro has got a filter on it, and then when the band kicks in on this chorus, it gets bigger. No, we want it all to be kind of the same. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I remember which producer it was, but like there was talk in a studio session once where I think I said something like that. I was like, "Well, can you fix that?" And I remember he got on talkback and he was like, "Well, I can, but will you be proud of that?"
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, go ahead and run it back." That pretty much did it for me. He's like, "'Cause you'll know." I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, yeah.
There was a producer buddy of ours that he's a legendary old country coot. We'll call him, shall we?
Wait a minute,
if I say it that way,
coot. Okay.
Yes,
I did. Want to make sure.
Yeah, like he's a curmudgeonly. He's one of my favorite humans in the world. But he used to get bands in, like you do what you do to kind of bolster you're like, okay, I have to take this band to kind of do the thing. And he said he was recording a band at his old studio, and they get done with a take, and it was about as awful as it could get. And they would go, and you could hear them at the end, like, okay, how was that? Was that good? Did you get it? He's like, and he would get on the talkback mic and he'd go, "Well, you did it. You sure did it. Let's go again." I love that response.
Let's go again. That's probably the biggest lesson everybody needs to learn, is that if you have never been recording before, the thing that you probably should do is play your song, get used to playing your song 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a row on your own. Just get used to doing it, because it's probably the first thing you are learn, because no one rehearses that way. New bands don't usually. And once you get good enough as a band, you don't. And once you play it live a few times, you're like, well, we don't need to rehearse that a few times.
Yeah.
And, and so like, I think that's one of the most shocking things for a lot of musicians who've never recorded in an environment like that, is that you're going to play it like 8 times in a row. And
probably, and sometimes
it doesn't matter whether or not you played it great. All 8 of them, we're just going to run it a lot. It's just
yeah. It really depends on my goal every time I'm recording in the studio is to maximize the efficiency of the studio time, because it's about the only time that I'm getting charged rent.
Right.
you know, because everything else, like if I've got like if I can get the band to do exactly what you say, play the song through 10 times on your own, get used to playing it. You're going to find things you didn't get bored with it, get sick of it, get sad of it, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
And because I'm going to ask you to, and I might ask you to slow it down, or I might ask you to speed it up, or I might ask you to move the key up. Just make things sound better in that way. You have to know your song that well to do that. But you can do that on your own time, and then you're not paying for the studio time.
Right. Exactly.
You can do that in your rehearsal space. You don't have to pay $1,000 a day to do that, or $10,000 a day, whatever studio you're recording at. But yeah, I remember having a conversation with our friend Josh Skelton, legendary Denver guitar guy. God, now lives in Nashville. Nashville people, hire that guy. He's amazing.
Yes, go get Josh Skelton and hire him so he can give me back my JBL.
Do we have a speaker of yours or
this
something?
Came up with the memorial, by the way. It was like, don't you have a PA that you can take? And I was like, well, I've got a few, but where's that JBL, that stick? And I was like, Josh has it somewhere. I don't know where he lives now.
He lives in Nashville now. He may not have taken it with him. It might be here in a storage shed.
Oh, he probably sold it. I don't know.
But also, if you ever need a stick, I have 2 of them. I know that sounds weird, but that's not what he said.
That's not what he said.
But Josh and I were having a conversation about how, we've noticed how, like, playing songs, like, very often a song is recorded at the beginning of its life instead of it being recorded at kind of various, like, I mean, songs evolve as you play them live and as you play them for various audiences, and you find which ones really jive with people. And the evolution of a song, it's possible to be able to record a song 4 or 5 different times at different places in your career, and update that song and say, okay, this is where this song is now. I know I was in a band I still am technically in a band called Tracksuit Wedding that recorded the same song 3 different times on 3 different records, and they wanted to keep calling it the same thing every time. But the song was evolving, so I understand the point. But by the 3rd time, I was like, my PRO is very angry at me right now. Can we name this something different just to make things a little bit easier?
Yes, so was the music publishing consultant on the PRO side.
Who was that? Who could that have been?
What the fuck is this? Is this the same song? Goddamn son of a... Oh, hi. No, that's great.
No, it's great.
Songs update, but they're a living entity.
Yeah, and I think that's a piece of it. That's like, I wonder if that's a thing we can. I mean, even if you name it the same song, say, it's like what Taylor Swift's kind of doing with her, taking her music back. Taylor's version of things. So that's
Freedom
a way to get
99, George Michael.
Oh God,
Was it 99?
Fucking love
Freedom whatever.
Well, there was
it was
Freedom 90, and then Freedom 99. I think you're right. Yeah. What a fucking amazing singer. I was watching. I'm the world's biggest Queen fan. And I'm very excited they're out on tour with Adam Lambert.
True.
Again, because I think he's fucking wonderful.
Again,
as well.
Adam, call us, email us,
yeah, call us if you need a guitar
gmail.com.
player. I'm borrowing a really nice guitar right now from a buddy of mine, but that would be great in that project.
Just so you know,
I'm watching the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, and George Michael does "Somebody to Love," and it is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It is astonishingly good. He had one of the finest voices in pop and rock ever.
Totally.
His version of I Can't Make You Love Me.
Yeah.
Is, I know, we all love Bonnie Raitt. She's incredible. His version of that song, I say, is
easy.
Almost better.
Okay. Easy because it didn't have the air. But yes.
I'm also running for senator, so I've got to play this. State senator. I'm just kidding.
State senator. Jesus.
That's from The Office.
It's funny because I actually, I fired up a little George Michael greatest hits. We were playing cards and
ladies
drinking.
And gentlemen, the best of.
And some people forgot about George Michael, and he is up for Hall of Fame, by the way. Again,
fantastic.
I think the vote leader right now, whenever this comes out, and he deserves it because he was just the thing about George Michael that we don't have enough of these days, especially in pop, is that he was such an artist. He was just very much an artist using his voice and traversing styles at a time where, you wanted to box people in. Like Kissing a Fool, to put out a jazzy, long song, after being a sex symbol with models and all of that. Like that, God. And by the way, he wrote that, and that was one of the ones he absolutely wrote. But anyway, it was great to kind of go through some of the older catalog, and also something to be careful of on YouTube. Everything that says greatest hits is not. Someone put together a greatest hits that they thought, and again, I'm going to rant a little bit here.
Do it.
If I'm listening to a greatest hits album and it's not a hit, you can fuck off, because that's what that is a George Michael song. That's not greatest hits. That's not even the big hit. I can't remember the name of the song, but it came out and I'm like, this wasn't a hit. This wasn't even a single.
Yeah.
It just like I don't care if you like it. You know, we have a mutual friend that I call Deep Cut Betty. Every goddamn thing that she loves is like the 7th track on an album. I'm like, she's like, you know, their best song was this. I'm like, no one knows that song. No one knows that song.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine that we would when we were putting out records, we'd always song 5 was always the heaviest song on the record for the rock bands. And so every time we'd put out a rock record, I think I know I did it on a couple of Savage Henry records. Song 5 was the meatiest, and he did it too on his.
Back when people made records and listened to records.
Made records.
That's right.
That reminds me, I was on the copyright website for the giving some input to somebody on copywriting their record.
Oh dear.
And what's that?
Oh dear.
Yeah. So, number 1, is it worth it?
Let me work it. No. You should, if you've got the money.
Yeah.
But, you know, you are granted the copyright the moment that you put a song into a fixed form, right? Mm-hmm. So that's for the PA side of things. That is the composition. So when you write a song, you sing a song, and you kind of got it down where there's verses and choruses, and you're using chords behind it, and you're singing. And then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, so this goes C, G, A, D, and then I sing this thing, and then I go and I sing this thing, and here's how I end it. You have the copyright on that song as a composition. Now, copywriting the sound recording, the SR, is a separate thing, and that is the master copy of that one. Now, bringing it back to the previous story that you were just talking about, if you were to do a literal copyright, okay. So let me be careful here. Copyright is one thing, and copyright registration is another. You have the copyright from the ownership or the creation of the song, the authorship of the song.
Yeah.
When you file for a copyright in the Office of Copyright, that is registering that you have that copyright. That is actually what it is. You are not copywriting it when you send your money and the photocopy or the phono record to the office. That is not copywriting. You are registering the copyright.
Yeah.
And so what does that get you? It sets the date that the authorship, and that could be the authorship of the recording, the ownership of the recording, and we'll keep it to that because that's kind of what the question was. So it sets that date in sort of public record. And the only reason for that is if you want to sue someone for using your master or using that recording of the song. You can still sue someone without having a copyright registration. However, you have less amount of time. There's a period. There's only a certain longevity of a period that you can sue someone during that time. If you have it registered, you have more time that you can sue someone. Secondly, if you have a registered copyright, the date of publication is what sets, like you can sue for damages. There's more damages you can sue. You can still sue for copyright violation no matter what. It doesn't really matter, and you can go to the court and say, and this, do not fucking mail it to yourself. That doesn't matter. That will be thrown out of the court. That does not matter. But you can go in and say, yeah, I created this song. We were in the studio. We recorded the song. I paid for it. Someone's using my master in their song. If you got to a court case on it, which is very rare, it's as much as we hear about it in media from Blurred Lines or Ed Sheeran or whomever, Sam Smith, all of these big artists that you hear about in copyright trials. That is because there's a rule in publishing and in labels: never sue someone until they've made the money. Yeah. So like a lot of times, a lot of labels, a lot of publishers, and I've been a party to a few of these, you will hear something that just gets released or a pre-release of a song, and you'll be like, oh, Jesus, that is, woo, they lifted Tom Petty there. or that's from this, that's pretty dead on this part, on a big song,
Yeah.
The first thing you do is not sue.
Yeah.
You wait for them to put all their money into it, go tour the world, the label gets behind it, radio gets behind it. You wait for that song to go as big as it possibly can, and then you sue, because you can sue for damages. And the damages, you can sue to get the money back for your costs. You can sue per violation, and then you can sue for damages. Lawyers would probably talk about this in a little better. There's a little part of the damages that you can sue for that is more advantageous if you have a registered copyright. But like for most artists, the copyright, you have it. You have it. It's more money. Now, okay, here's another little aspect of it. And I know I promised to answer these a lot quicker lately, but none of these are simple answers. The other thing about copyright registration that is a big deal is being able to sell bundled copyrights from a copyright notification. So like your registration number of the copyright, you can transfer that as like a goods to somebody else. And when you're dealing in major label land, that's a big deal. But I can just tell you for a fact, I've done publishing deals, I've done label deals, and been involved with label deals of songs with 20, 40 million streams, like lots of money involved. It's a big fucking deal. And no one ever from Warner or Sony ever asked to see the copyright registration. Not once.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of assumed that this is, we're going to agree on it. By the way, one of those had really good split sheets. And I will say that the split sheet or the producer contract actually stood in place of the copyright registration for the sound recording, because you had a receipt for the day it was recorded, who was on the recording. And I can just also tell you from experience that, especially in a label licensing deal, they just want to know that the bass player is not going to come back and go, I wrote part of that, or I didn't get paid that day. Yeah. So that's actually more important, is to make sure you have musician releases and split sheets and stuff.
That's pretty much where I had the conversation. Was it's not really it's, if you have the money, do it. Yeah. Fine. But it's not going to, it doesn't change anything on your end unless you're involved in some type of litigation. But I will die on this hill, and so I believe I'll probably have you up there with me, which is get your paperwork in order.
Yes.
Get your split sheets, get your release forms, get your producer agreements. Doesn't matter. I just did that with this band last weekend. They had an agreement with me. I've got a release form from me that says I do not own any of this. You didn't pay me my full rate. I don't fucking care. This is your recording. Yeah. Do with it what you will. I own none of it.
Yep.
And it's okay. And they could do some cool shit with it.
Yeah.
But there's limits to the amount of time and money I can spend on it. And, normally if I'm making that agreement, my goal is to either I make my money up front or I make my money on the back end.
Right.
So whichever it's going to be. But get your paperwork in order so you have that just taken care of before any of these numbers are in place.
Yeah. And you also, the other thing to think about is this is a long career. And a lot of times, bands don't last longer than 5 years. In most, I know it's horrible, but we're just going to talk honest here. And so you may be, like the Van Halen, the first iteration of Van Halen didn't last much longer, but you've got to understand that if you're a writer and you have a baby with another writer, that baby will live on whether you like the other writer or not, or whether that band that you were in paid for the recording or not. You have a piece of that, and you may go on to have a longer music career. So this is especially if you're in your 20s or whatever, and you're in a young band, is just to just take care of that shit and then let it be, because you may be 32, 35 on your fourth band and you're now solo, and someone comes along and goes, you know what? You're a great songwriter. I would love to sign you a publishing deal. And there's an album back there from when you were in your 20s that they might want. that they might want those songs. They might want that recording. And so if you don't have, the paperwork now, it's going to be gone. It's going to be lost.
Yeah.
Let me also just add another thing about copyright. And my lawyer friends would make me tell you this. It's important. You should. It's legal. It's the way the IP system works. It's the way our copyright system works. And it's important that you should do it. Find a way to invest in yourself and hold your IP legally. Okay, so I said that part. Here's my other second part. Chances are you don't have $10,000 to launch a lawsuit against someone you think stole from you.
Yeah.
You hear it all the time. Yeah. Oh my God, someone stole my song, or they lifted this, or they did that. Okay, sue them. You go find an entertainment lawyer that practices wherever their bar, wherever they got their bar. They've got to be in California or New York, right? So if you live in a mid-state or whatever, you can't just get a lawyer in Kansas City to go fight in California. They're not in the bar.
Yeah.
And so you got to find a California lawyer. You got to find a copyright attorney. There's going to be a bunch of discovery that goes on. You're going to have to fly out there. Then the dates are going to be rolling. It takes about 2 or 3 months. It will take forever for you to even get a first hearing, and it may not even go to court. And so my point is that anytime you see someone stealing your shit, at some level, it is not actually worth you fighting it.
Yep.
It literally isn't. If you're in a label deal, if you're in a publishing deal, and you have a hierarchy that is all about rights bundling and that matters, they look at their catalog as being less valued, but not your song. I mean, it's kinda, no matter how much song your money generates. But for you personally, and being a band or independent or self-released or whatever, chances are you don't have the money to actually follow through with suing someone.
Yeah.
That's why I say, if you can, sure, do it. File the copyright stuff for your own reasons. But don't do it because you think, oh, now I'll be able to sue everyone over this. Because I'm telling you, you won't. It is fucking expensive. There is no small claims court for it.
Yeah. Agreed. Wow, thanks for the rant. I appreciate it.
How many rants is that today?
If there were video on this, people could have seen all of those hand gestures.
Lot of hands,
it's like that Charlie Day meme from It's Always Sunny with all the the strings going everywhere.
You guys, cigarette out of his mouth, totally. All right, let's get to the sink of the week. Sink of the week. All right, I'm going to go first.
Okay, go for it.
Mine, okay, so Ja Morant is a basketball player for the Memphis Grizzlies. He's sort of a young, up-and-coming star in the NBA. They want him to be the face of the league. Yeah. He's good-looking. Yeah. He's a great player. He flies through the air, hits the ground. He's a great player. He got in a little trouble in our little hometown, flashing a gun at a strip club after a game at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Ooh.
Yeah, on Instagram. And so he got suspended for a little while, and after a Nuggets game, he got suspended for a little while, and then he went to some mental health help training and stuff, and then he came back on the other side, and he was just fine, and then they lost against the Lakers. But anyway,
But Jack Nicholson's back.
That's right, Jack's back. Or as we like to call him, Weekend at Bernie Jacks. Just shave, Jack. Just shave. That's all I'm asking. Okay. But so Ja Morant, he's got a Nike deal. And so there's a big push to kind of make sure that he is back in the spotlight in a good way. Let's forget all about the flashing a gun on Instagram and a strip club thing.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out Shotgun Willies. Anyway, so lots of good nights there. So it's a Nike ad, and it's called Good Morning. And there is a song on this Nike ad, and you can search it. So you can search Nike ad, Ja Morant, Good Morning. The song that's used on it, this is just really interesting, is Good Morning, Mr. Echo, which is by a group called Swing Slow. I think it was 97 or something like that. They're like two Japanese, it's like a guy and a gal Japanese group. Doing a cover version of the original from 1951,
That's cool.
Which was written by Bill and Belinda Putnam. And that one, by the way, let's bring it back to copyright, would not be under copyright law at first because that's pre the Berne Convention. Yep. So anyway, but I'm sure the label picked it up eventually. I think it was Universal. And so Dan Viens, who's the creative director, it's a Weed & Kennedy production. Did a lot of work with Weed & Kennedy years ago. I love them as an ad agency. And so it's cool because this song, Good Morning, Mr. Echo, is like an old school song. It's a feel-good, happy, adorable song. Showing a guy playing basketball, getting up every morning and playing. And there's no way in hell that anyone thought this song would ever be used on a Nike ad. Those are amazing placements. Weed & Kennedy is great at those kind of placements. Finding that song that's like so weird that it works so perfectly. So that's mine. The Nike ad with John Morant for Good Morning.
I'm a little shocked that you saw an ad, to be honest with you.
I'm watching the NBA. I'm gambling again.
Okay,
no, I'm
that's
actually not.
Fair.
I'm watching a little bit of the sports there. Is it getting to the playoffs?
We were watching hockey the other night, and it was the first time I'd seen, because I have every platform I have has no ads on it.
I know, it's weird to see ads.
So, it's weird to see ads. That's why they're all moving to my social media feed and said, "Have you seen anything about this type of ham in the last 2 days?" I'm like, fuck, stop it.
This is why I wanted to pick an ad because I really like the sync world in advertising, and I'm worried about it because it was really good in broadcast.
Yeah.
And it's weirder on streaming, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have one for this week?
That's I do have. I have. Okay, so I mean, I'm such a I get so into the shows that oftentimes I'm so engaged in the story that sometimes I will miss them. And so because we've been discussing this more, I've been paying more attention to this than I used to could.
Everyone has.
But
from what I hear.
Because of the way I consume my media, right? Let's just take a moment for that. The way I'm consuming my media right now, I don't see a lot of ads. I just see shows. I just started watching the new Prime show, Citadel, which is a Marvel movie with a Jonas sister and Rob Stark in it. Ooh. And it has the Tooch. It has Stanley Tucci, and every time the Tooch shows up, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm down for the
My
Tooch. Sync
of the week is not from Citadel. It is from the last episode of Ted Lasso, because you know how much I love Ted Lasso.
I do.
There was a series of montages of stores opening at the beginning of throughout the episode.
I need a montage.
Yeah, there was one time they had Sometime in the Morning by the Monkees.
Hey,
playing, and I got a text from one of my best friends. Is like, "Have you watched the new Ted Lasso?" I said, "I just got to the Monkees scene," because we're both huge Monkees fans, and it's such a beautiful the way that it's the perfect montage song. You see all the stores opening their shutter. There's a guy carrying tulips through the street. Somebody slapping a ham hock right on the, like in the butcher's shop. They're sweeping out the entryway of the fancy restaurant. It's just, this song just sits so beautifully. It's choreographed so well. It's so well done. And that is, Mr. Bill Lawrence's wife was the music supervisor, Miss Krista Miller, on that. Again, like she did with Shrinking as well. And there's another name on here. I don't know this name. Tony Von Perview.
Ooh.
Do you know that
I
name?
don't.
It says music supervisor as well. Thanks IMDb for the information.
Yeah.
But I've loved Krista Miller, following her on Instagram when she was kind of going through the music she chose for Shrinking. She would talk about that kind of stuff, and I just love that. For those of us that kind of do this stuff, it was nice to get a little inside baseball on that, kind of, put up front a little bit in the mainstream for people to see that's actually sometimes it's a hard job to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
By the way, I need to put a button on something. A few episodes ago, by the time you hear this, we highlighted a song by Charlotte Lawrence that it was a Krista Miller special on Shrinking. And that Bill Lawrence had been tweeting about. I did a little bit more research on it, and so thank you for all the people who were tweeting at me and writing me and all of that. Yes, she is their daughter. So Charlotte Miller is or Charlotte Lawrence, born and raised in L.A., is Krista Miller and producer, writer, director galore, Bill Lawrence's daughter. And so, yes, I failed to mention that, but she is still like an indie. And so like, I'm just saying, I'm not stupid, but yes, I thought I would mention it so for all the people before you got into my mentions about it.
It was not me that added you all the time. Hey, you going to fix that?
No, it wasn't you.
At St. James Media on Twitter.
No,
hey,
it was someone at Apple.
Oh. Oh.
Which, by the way, I may do a whole episode on Apple TV because I think Apple TV is an amazing platform the way they produce. Whoever is the head of, like, and I know some of these answers, but I'm going to just leave this out there. Whoever is the head of production, every Apple TV show feels like it's on Apple.
Yeah.
You do not like anybody completely. There are anti-heroes everywhere. Everybody's flawed. There's always joy and sadness in everything. Even if it's slapstick. Even in Ted Lasso. You know, I mean, like, and they just fucking nail it. And I don't know how they do it show after show after show after show.
Consistently.
In fact, the only one that I would say that kind of falls out of it is Extrapolations. But that show is just basically climate change hater porn. But like that's for another story. It's so fucking depressing. It's so depressing. Oh my God.
Again, like I'm very much a fan of the I very much curate what I put into my senses. So I don't, if I see something like that, it's not going in. Now, as I've said before, I have friends and people that we know that if I need to pay attention to something, they're going to let me know.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm just like I'm going to choose.
I told you don't watch
so
it.
I can maintain my. Yeah.
I told you don't watch it.
Yeah.
I'm watching it so no one else has to.
There was a scene in the Ted Lasso episode with the monkey song that had them all switching positions on the pitch.
Yes.
And they had the water boy doing a Coach Beard impersonation that I rewatched it probably 5 or 6 times because I couldn't get through it without crying laughing.
By the way, Waterboy is kit manager in this case.
No, kit manager. Thank you so much. I apologize. Yeah. Will the kit manager. Fuck, I'm sorry. I'm from there.
You're going to be in so much trouble for that one.
I'm in so much trouble. I can just hear my buddy Mash in London like, fuck you, Brad. You know?
He washes the jerseys.
Yeah.
That's one for you over the pond.
Yeah, yes. And, pay attention to none of the legal things we said.
You know
to
what
those
strikes me? I don't know
pond.
whether we should get into this, but like, I imagine there's a lot of young kids, a lot of the younger folks. I don't want to call you kids. That's not cool. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the younger folks who have no idea who the monkeys are, what the monkeys are, which the monkeys are, wherefore why the monkeys are.
Why is Gamora?
Yes. Do you want to give us like a really quick thing, like the monkeys, the Beatles, and like why the monkeys, why you like them?
Well, I grew up on the Monkees TV show.
Yeah.
You know, I had lunchboxes. I mean, and it was just kind of slapstick comedy with a kind of a central music theme throughout it. They were, you know, kind of a silly person's Beatles kind of thing.
That's right. That's right.
Their songs were always so joyful and happy, and it reminded me stylistically of the Brady Bunch smashed together with the Beatles. Kind of like vibe, because didn't they all? I haven't seen it in so long, but didn't they all live in the same house together? And,
it seems like it. You know, I think what's also interesting about that is like there are a bunch of shows that we grew up on that were actually reruns. You know, like I grew up a little bit on Dick Van Dyke. Well, that was in black and white. That wasn't showing while I was alive. And the Monkees was in the 60s, and you weren't alive.
I was not alive in the 60s.
But like there were a lot of those shows that we were being served and that y'all don't have to go through because you can pick what you're watching, but this was just on. And so it was weird where we were being like, our parents knew who the Monkees were and knew the Beatles were and all that, and we knew who they were, but like that's not of our generation. And so you're watching this show and you're like, oh, I like the Monkees, and you know your parents would be like, you know, the Monkees. A lot of people like the Beatles better than them. A lot of people like the Monkees better than the Beatles. A lot of people thought that this guy, you know, was like, oh my God, shut up. I'm just watching the show.
They're funny and they have fun songs.
I always explained it. The Monkees were like the Beatles going to Gilligan's Island. That's the way it seemed to me. Hijinks ensue.
Hijinks ensued. Yeah.
Plus, it was in that like huge Technicolor. Like everything was just so bright.
So bright. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and it's funny, like even just like visualizing it in my head. I mean, we may have to, maybe Chris and I'll do some marathoning here in a couple weeks. Just like, hey, let's just see if we can find the Monkees and watch it. But it's just like that era of television, Star Trek and that kind of stuff was just so colorful, you know?
Yeah. It's like they found color and then they're like, let's use all of it.
Yeah,
let's make everything.
Yeah,
colorful.
we have a friend on the internet who likes to post a lot of things. His name's Madison. He's a drummer in Colorado, and he's kind of posting like a lot of these 60s sci-fi shows and how they thought the future would like, and it's a lot like that color scheme. Very bright.
Yeah,
screens everywhere. Everybody's wearing shiny shit and has a visor.
It's all very like Italian. Like he loves that Italian shit and the 60s vibes and it's probably coming back. I mean, I imagine some younger people are finding some of that and be like, "Oh, that's badass!" And now it's about time we bring some of that back.
Yeah, I would like to have my house look like that.
Oh yes,
I want the fucking floating chairs and shit.
The postmodern.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Clean lines. Nice chairs.
Yeah.
That's when people wore trousers in the house to sit down and have a drink and.
Yeah,
we weren't all wearing like sweats and shit all the
time. By the way, band name I just sent it in for copyright right when we were talking, called House Trousers.
House Trousers, love it. House Trousers.
House Trousers.
House Trousers is House Trousers will be on tour in North America this year with Shaky Knees. Shaky Knees are opening up for House Trousers.
Actually, Shaky Knees will be inside the House Trousers set.
It's kind of a mashup. It's pretty cool. There's a DJ that comes out. It's called Daddy Longlegs. DJ Daddy Longlegs. All right, let's wrap this sucker up. Hey, make sure you go over to StuMiller.com. He's got a
StuMillerMusic.com.
StuMillerMusic.com.
Because there was a baseball player named Stu Miller.
That's right. And he's not very good, by the way. Sorry.
The baseball player or me?
The baseball player. He's not. What? He's got an ERA. Like, what? He was batting 220. Get out of here. I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, by the way. StuMillerMusic.com. Go there and check it out.
Is there a place where people could find you on the internet to enjoy some of your more surly rants?
No. This is it.
Fantastic.
No, I've got a bunch of quiet places and I've got a bunch of burner accounts and I'm still in stealth on a few things. So there's about to be way too much Michael St. James. And some would argue there already is. And so
disagree. Harshly disagree.
But yeah, there's going to be some things coming up, but honestly, I'm just taking care of some business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, those cats of yours are really cutting into your social
good,
time.
By the way, took him into the vet. Thought he threw up blood and all of this stuff, and took him into the vet. And on the same day, I had to go to a memorial, and they're like, "I'm thinking, God, is this the last time?" Well, we just got the lab results back. He's fine. Yeah. Liver's fine. Eyes are fine. Everything's fine. They're like, sometimes it happens. We're like, what do you mean? I've never seen him throw up red. They're like, nah, he's fine. It's all good. He's a cat.
Good. I'm glad. Cat Chronicles with Michael and Stu.
Oh, God, it never stops. All right, remember to rate and subscribe. Give us 5 stars. We sure would love you to share this show with other people. We're going to do some weird things coming up here soon that you're probably going to see before you hear this. So maybe I shouldn't mention it. But I'm gonna.
Oh, you're going to see some experimentation in the real world?
Well, and some of these are going long. I think we're going to be doing by the time you hear this, you're going to see a lot of things called quick shots. Little quicker things.
Also my nickname in college.
That's right.
Sorry, ladies.
Going on tour with shaky knees. House of Trousers.
House Trousers.
House Trousers. That's right. House of Trousers is a whole fashion industry thing, I think.
Oh, man.
But Stu's got some Spotify classes. You should also get a hold of him to mix your stuff. He's a great mixer. Produce your album if you dare. And so, yeah, rate, subscribe, give us 5 stars, leave a hilarious comment. You can find us 2 Shots Music Pod everywhere. There's socials.
Yep.
And you can email us 2shotsmusicpod@gmail.com. And we thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Godspeed, everyone. Bye.
Bye.